You are not going to believe what is happening in American cities right now. From fireworks being launched at federal agents to hundreds of millions in cash vanishing through airports, we need to talk about the stories that are barely making the headlines. Let's break this down.
I mean, the ICE agent walked away with a hip injury that he might as well have gotten from closing a refrigerator door with his hips. Give me a break. No, he was not ran over. He walked out of there with a hop in his step.
Okay, pause. Did you catch the tone there? This is classic political gaslighting 101. We have reports of an agent suffering internal bleeding that is a serious, life-threatening condition. And here is the mayor of Minneapolis comparing it to bumping your hip on a refrigerator door. It's almost impressive how dismissive he's being, except it's terrifying because this is an elected official talking about a federal law enforcement officer. When leadership starts treating serious violence like a slapstick comedy routine, you know the disconnect between reality and politics has become a chasm. He says, "Give me a break," with such arrogance, while the reality on the ground is people are getting legitimately hurt. It sets a dangerous precedent when you minimize violence just because it fits a political narrative.
Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was.
The goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question is.
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics.
Absolutely.
So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
This clip is honestly painful to watch, isn't it? You have a United States senator asking a fundamental biological question: can men get pregnant? And look at the gymnastics happening here. The doctor isn't answering because she doesn't know the answer. She's dodging because the answer is politically inconvenient for her worldview. When she says, "I'm not sure what the goal of the question is," that is the tell. The goal is truth. But we've reached a point where stating basic biological reality is considered an act of aggression in these hearings. It's fascinating and scary that science and evidence, which she claims to support, are being completely sidelined for ideology. If we can't agree on the baseline reality of who can carry a child, how are we supposed to agree on complex legislation?
Sending troops marching into the streets.
Can I just say, as the only immigrant right now on this podcast who immigrated here legally, I feel much safer and better under a Donald Trump presidency than I ever did under a Biden presidency. Just want you to hear it from my mouth for what that's worth.
Do you feel safer about the fact that a Latino doctor crossing the street in Washington, D.C. Is getting hassled or harassed because they're brown?
I don't think that I've heard that. Now,
okay, so you're not aware of any case in which a U.S. citizen who is
no,
like you're
me no, but I will tell you, for example, after 9/11.
But wait, you're on a podcast commenting about immigration. Surely you have some level of awareness.
Let me tell you, after 9/11, for example, for years I had SSS on my boarding passes. I was pulled over constantly, and people probably thought that I was a Muslim hijacker. Mm-hmm. So I know what it feels like to be harassed. And what I'm telling you categorically is I feel safer in this presidency than I have ever felt. And I'm just letting you know that.
Man, the look on Pete's face says it all. He was not expecting that answer. You have this moment where the narrative completely crumbles in real time. Pete is trying to frame this discussion around fear, implying that if you're an immigrant or a minority, you must be terrified of conservative leadership. And then the guest, an actual legal immigrant, looks him in the eye and says, "Actually, I felt safer under Trump." It completely short-circuits the talking point. And notice Pete's pivot? He immediately jumps to, "Well, haven't you been harassed?" He's fishing for victimhood. It really highlights how some politicians view certain demographics not as individuals with their own experiences, but as props for a specific worldview. When the lived experience doesn't match the political theory, they just don't know how to process it.
You're a Nazi! Go to hell! Go to hell! Go to hell! Run! Get the out of Minnesota!
was an event at a church there on Monday night. People acted out immigration detainments, and the rest of the room practiced filming them and making noise.
We are at my official dating profile request. I am a relationship anarchist. I am on the lookout for somebody who right now I'd be able to call and say, hey, get in the passenger seat and let's go some up. Because right now in Minneapolis, what is happening are we are being occupied by ICE agents. So if that's you, if you're interested in some shit up, message me. We got to do.
Wow, there is a lot to unpack here. This is what happens when activism becomes a performance art rather than a cause. First, you have people blowing whistles in a convenience store like they're refereeing a soccer match. Who exactly is that helping? Then you've got a church running literal role play drills on how to obstruct federal agents. But the kicker is the relationship anarchist dating profile rant. This lady is looking for a date to go commit felonies with. It's funny, but it's also sad. These people are so desperate for purpose, for a revolution, that they're shaving their heads for people they don't know and turning dating into a political litmus test. It's main character syndrome on steroids. They think they're in a movie, leading the resistance, but to the rest of us, they just look like they need a nap and a reality check.
Not been able to tell us what is the purpose for this search. They haven't been able to produce any evidence that they are finding people who are undocumented, who have committed crimes.
So going to revoke the citizenship of any naturalized immigrant from Somalia or anywhere else who is convicted of defrauding our citizens. We're going to get them the hell out of here fast. And if you come to America to rob Americans, we're throwing you in jail and we're sending you back to the place from where you came.
The contrast here is jarring. You start with Ilhan Omar looking into the camera and saying there is no evidence of criminals being arrested, while we literally have a screen full of mugshots of convicted felons, rapists, and murderers who were detained. It's gaslighting again, just like with the mayor earlier. Don't believe your lying eyes. And then you cut to Trump. And regardless of what you think of him, the message is crystal clear. If you come here to commit crimes, you are gone. It's a message of basic law and order versus a message of denial. One side is saying nothing to see here, and the other is saying we see it and we're stopping it. For the average citizen just wanting safe streets, it's pretty obvious which approach resonates more.
Cash transfers. There are Somali couriers who come to the airport almost daily with $1,600,000 in cash and a luggage. That sounds a little suspicious, right? It was going on daily, and they were moving about $350 million a year in cash in their luggage out of Minneapolis airport, and then traditionally or predominantly overseas. One of the routes that the TSA saw the money go, it would go from Minneapolis to Europe to Dubai, often through Amsterdam. It was flagged for years. TSA was flagging these payments for years. They grew from $20, $30 million a year to $350 million a year the last 2 years, 2024 and 2025. It was literally a foreign ATM taking cash out of the United States to foreign destinations.
This is the story that should be on every front page. $350 million in cash, in suitcases, moving through a single airport. Just think about the logistics of that. This isn't someone sending a few $100 back home to grandma. This is an industrial scale operation. And we're told this was flagged for years? How does $333 billion leave the country in duffel bags without immediate federal intervention? It screams of systemic failure, or worse, willful ignorance. We're talking about money that could be funding terrorism, cartels, or who knows what else, and it was treated like business as usual. It really makes you wonder, who was looking the other way, and why?
Gavin Newsom's California spent $18 billion on a non-existent train. That means they spent $18 billion just to think about a train. Our entire state budget is $6 billion, meaning they lost more thinking about something than we spend in 3 years on our entire state. It is unreal what's happening, and I'm glad we have a president that's standing up and making sure that there's an end to it.
I did an article that posted today just highlighting one of these organizations in San Francisco, which is supposed to be providing free shots of alcohol to homeless alcoholics. And in 5 years, at $16 million a year, they've served 55 clients.
No, you're making that up. Wait, this is tax money, and it buys free shots of booze to street drunks.
Yes, and it's been going on for a number of years. It was an organization that already existed, but they beefed it up during COVID, ostensibly to keep these homeless alcoholics out of emergency rooms.
California is honestly becoming a parody of itself. First, you have $18 billion spent on a high-speed train that exists only in imagination. That's 3 times the entire state budget of Arkansas, just gone, vaporized. But then it gets darker. San Francisco has a managed alcohol program giving free vodka shots to homeless alcoholics. Think about the logic there. You have people dying of addiction on the streets, and the state's solution isn't rehab, it isn't mental health facilities, it's here, have another drink on the taxpayer. It is enabling a slow-motion tragedy under the guise of compassion. It's not compassionate to keep people sick. It's a dystopian level of mismanagement where they light billions on fire for phantom trains while feeding addictions with public funds.
Iranian authorities are reportedly expected to execute the first person in relation to the nationwide unrest rocking the country. We're also learning the death toll from the crackdown on the protests has reportedly risen to more than 2,500 people, though difficult to confirm.
We're told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset.
Finally, we look overseas. The situation in Iran is intense, but look at the shift in tone here. You see the chaos on the streets, the fire, the unrest. But then you have a statement from leadership saying, "We've been told the killing is stopping." It shows the power of leverage. When the U.S. actually flexes its diplomatic or economic muscle, regimes notice. It's a reminder that foreign policy isn't just about treaties signed in fancy rooms. It's about pressure and consequences. The world is watching how America reacts, and clearly, the message being sent right now is being heard loud and clear in Tehran. There is so much happening that gets swept under the rug, from Minneapolis to Tehran. If you want to keep tracking the truth behind the headlines, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We're watching everything. See you in the next one.